Hi, my name is Donna McCollough. I'm volunteering with Decriminalize Nature. We're a nationwide movement, and I started the Baton Rouge extension. And still trial and error here, learning as I go. Tony's been great as far as assisting me, showing me the ropes, and getting me acquainted with things. I primarily use my Instagram, have 2 Instagram accounts. One of them is the backup. And just in case I have issues with the primary, because the main Decriminalize Nature page, they've had a few things happen. If you could just type in Decriminalize Nature Baton Rouge, you'll see a picture of the state capitol, and it's got like a sort of psychedelic look to it. And so we have a guest speaker with us, and we might possibly have another guest speaker. He said he might be able to join us, so it'll be a surprise if he comes in. All right, so we just had a disclaimer, and I posted it on Instagram, just no illegal activities. We don't condone any type of illegal activities. So just wanted y'all to be aware of that. All right, thank y'all for listening along with us. And then we have Angie Broussard here from LAMMJ. She's just gonna tell us a little bit. Yeah. About her organization.
Hi, I am Angela Broussard. I got involved last November. This is my organization, LAMMJ, which stands for Louisiana Medical Marijuana. We all connected at some of the Capitol meetings advocating for, increased cultivators in the state of Louisiana. There were some wins, not that many. And that's why I'm here, because I feel like the more of us that are not in the shadows anymore about cannabis, for me particularly, and other plant medications like mushrooms, we just need to pump up the volume. I mean, everybody kind of agrees on it, but it's still like some little shady secret, and we just need to like not accept that anymore. And I feel like the normalization of marijuana is pretty close, but we do need, like I said, more voices. And so my group works with Tony's group, and now hopefully Decriminalize Nature Baton Rouge and Donna. And it's just, a great group of people. Whatever your background is, just join a group and get involved. Let other people hear your voice. Because as is right now, the corporations are just sort of taking over even nature. And so going forward this upcoming year, I'm going to be advocating for home grow rights, which, sounds ridiculous in Louisiana, but at one point in our lives, we thought medical marijuana would not happen here. So if we advocate for home grow rights together, and if we, like I said, pump up the volume, I think at least we can make some noise. Change is slow in this state, too slow for a lot of us, right? So we need to stick together, because that's the only way we're going to combat the big money machine that we're up against. I personally don't meet with politicians. A lot of them probably wouldn't meet with me and don't like me very much. There are some that do. And that's why I think it's great to have people a little less, what's the word I'm looking for, antagonistic, like Tony and Donna. I mean, I just get kind of angry, and as a result of that, I burn a lot of bridges. So but I feel like the things that I'm angry about are things that a lot of people are angry about. And, it just makes sense to say it out loud and to address the problem. And so that makes you pretty not popular in Louisiana, you can imagine. But I feel like the more of us together, the stronger we are. So, but I'm not saying that's the most effective way, is to, these interpersonal relationships you have with your area representatives, writing letters, communicating, blowing up bridges is not a great idea, right? But sometimes it just happens. So I encourage you to speak with your legislators and tell them your own situation, because like as is, if it's just people talking at a few legislative meetings, and if it's the same people over and over, it's just never going to change. I mean, they need to see that it's a movement, that we're not accepting it, even if we had some losses. And doing what you suggested is step number one, the best way, word of mouth. Any group you can get involved with, whatever, if you're a veteran, Tony's group, if you're into other plant medicines, Donna's group, if you, are into advocacy and things, like what I do, join my group, join all of them, just get involved. That's our message. So hope to see y'all in this fall, and definitely in the upcoming legislative session.
Thank you. Yes, all politics are local. You get started on just your local council level, or just reaching out and speaking to your elected official. Let them know your thoughts. Show them some research, something that maybe another state's doing, and ask them that, let's do it here. Okay, so in the interest of time, I see Dr. Moises has joined us. Dr. Moises, if you go ahead and I know you're probably on a tight schedule. You might need to get back to seeing some medical cannabis patients, and that's what we're here for, to make sure they have good access. And we, if you want to just give us the Louisiana state of cannabis and kind of what your outtake is, what you're looking forward to seeing in terms of cannabis for your patients.
Sure thing. Well, hi, everybody. Great to be with everyone. Thank you, Tony, for inviting me to this group. I didn't know there was a group meeting regularly. This is really nice to see, because we do need to kind of band together to kind of move medical marijuana forward in the state. You know, the good thing about Louisiana is they did legalize it, unlike Texas, which is so backwards. And Louisiana is backwards in a lot of ways too, but they did legalize it in 2015. But as all of y'all know, you know, the problem right now is it's just so limited because of the, as the last speaker said, sort of the corporate monopoly of it. And so I've had great success with the patients that I've had over the last 2.5 years. I've been involved with patients since we rolled out product about almost 3 years ago now, I guess. And the first year was a mess when the state medical board was in charge of it, because they just restricted it so much, almost nobody could use it, or we couldn't give it to anybody. And miraculously, and I guess through a lot of the work that y'all were doing a couple years ago, they didn't just change the law. I mean, they pretty much just wiped out the old one and made it so easy now to access medical marijuana that it was amazing. I mean, they went from a highly regulated process to now in Louisiana, any doctor with a medical degree and a medical license rather can recommend medical marijuana to any patient with any debilitating condition, which can be anything from chronic pain to headaches, to anxiety, to sleep. Obviously the big ones like cancer, autism, and a string of other things. And so that was the good thing. The law changed to benefit the patient. The struggle we're in right now is LSU and Southern universities, the way the law was written, kind of has a monopoly on everything. And so what we're finding is we just don't have as much product as Western states do. And they're constantly running out, which is a problem. And the cost is double or triple what it should be. So I've been working with Joe Marino, who's a really good legislator on the West Bank. And he's been trying, and he just keeps hitting brick walls. But I've testified numerous times. I'm in Baton Rouge as a patient advocate, and we've had some great patients testify too. But we're still stuck because we have a very conservative legislature, and we have a lot of sheriffs who are anti anything. But I think we'll keep making progress. The door's open now. They know what's going on. And I think LSU and Southern can only control it for so much longer. But we're not going to go backwards, put it that way. I mean, it's out of the bag now, so it's staying legal because we help so many patients. Just, you know, the half dozen or so autism children that I take care of, their parents are huge advocates for it now. So there's a lot of people that we're helping, and yeah, it's a good thing. I hope we keep it from a medical standpoint. I mean, the recreational part's a whole nother part, which I'm totally in favor of as well. But the medical stuff, it's nice that it still has some sort of, not regulations, but some oversight, because there are really sick people who, as all of you know, I would imagine everybody in this group uses marijuana regularly. There is a difference between strains and between marijuana, and the wrong strain doesn't do what you need it to do, or it can make things worse. So I like how hopefully there'll be a medical part and eventually a recreational route. But it's all good. You know, it's better now than it was before we had marijuana, but it's nice to see that we have a network of people like you that we can kind of do a grassroots campaign to get more people on board, and eventually we'll change things in Baton Rouge.
Thank you, Dr. Moises. That's really inspirational and part of the reason why we're here networking together and collaborating our efforts, and hopefully next session we'll expand the program even more. Thank you for that report. You're welcome to hang out for the meeting. We're gonna
Yeah, I'd like to
Well,
listen. Thanks.
I'm gonna introduce myself. My name's Tony Landry, coming at you from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Yes, We Cannibal. And I'm here with Decriminalize Nature, Arizona. Decriminalize Nature, Baton Rouge. Donna McCollough and Angela Broussard, Louisiana LAMMJ. We did a lot of work at the Capitol. We started the Capitol, started out in March 14th, opening day. And we had a plant medicine rally at the Capitol. We invited Acadiana Harm Reduction. I won't be able to remember all the names, but we tried to include like the plant medicine family, you know, the harm reduction family, the Greg Lakewood and Theogenic, you know, the trauma coaching family. We had a veteran there, Josh was a trauma coach, and just tried to include everybody in our lobby day. And so my name, yeah, I'm a veteran. I'm served 6 years in the military and got out with some back related injuries and went through a couple back surgeries, and started on the opiates, and when that's quit working, went on to the alcohol, and really got in a fix with alcohol. Was having some hard times with alcohol, craving it every waking moment of my day, and went to Arizona to become a medical cannabis patient 3 years ago, and attended a psychedelic conference in Arizona, in Phoenix, and I discovered some of the psychedelic plants, which I was from South Louisiana, had never really heard of much about some of these plants, but come to find out they had an ayahuasca church in Tucson, my hometown, and I attended a ceremony back in June of 2019, and had an out-of-body experience, like a 30,000-foot view of my life that night. And I just figured, you know, what are you doing? Why you can't keep going like that? And I quit drinking that day. At the morning of the ceremony, I went home. I had 4 beers left in the icebox. I poured them down the drain, and I haven't had any alcohol since. So, yeah, our mission just to expand the plant medicine community in Louisiana, to include the psychedelic community and cannabis. It's helping a lot of veterans and civilians alike with mental health issues, and that's why we're here today, just to kind of share some insight on what we have and ask for some help and how to get there. That's just a slide. The plant medicine rally, the agenda. We met in Veterans Memorial Park, and we had speeches that morning, and then we had a flag detail led by veterans to lead the group over to the Capitol steps, and where we let the civilians speak, patients speak to cannabis and plant medicine related things. And we had a lot of signs out, which you can't see much of the signs in here today. I have them kind of spread out. Signs in the lobby rotunda. And so hopefully the politicians will, those signs will resonate with them, and we can get some kind of psychedelic decriminalization in Louisiana, because we really know we need it. We need some help with addiction, depression, anxiety, all these things that's really causing a lot of the overdose and suicides and violence and stuff we're seeing. So I think psychedelics can help. There, Greg, how you doing? Welcome.
Hey, Tony, thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Greg Lake. I'm an attorney. I've authored 3 books on psychedelics and the law, and have been an avid advocate and companion with Decriminalize Nature for quite a few years now. I actually lived in Baton Rouge from 2017 to 2022. A couple months ago, moved to Florida, but I still own property there, and I still have family there. So I do have an active interest in seeing, you know, reasonable policies and laws being passed in the state. So as Tony stated, I went and spoke with Carlos, the national. Well, I spoke with him over Facebook Messenger today about a national update. He didn't give me a bunch of detailed information, but I do have some stuff to talk about on the national level that I feel is important policy wise. But let's see. So what Carlos sent me, he said 14 cities so far have passed decriminalized nature resolutions. One county, again, he didn't name it, but he said one county has agreed to cease enforcements. And right now there are 2 statewide initiatives on the ballots for this upcoming voting season. And I'll discuss one of those in just a second. And then he said, we just started another 5 to 10 local groups since the airing of the Poland documentary, Michael Pollan's documentary. I don't know if anyone's seen it on Netflix. It's based on his book, How to Change Your Mind. I have had the privilege of seeing all 4 episodes, and it's incredible. And it really puts a lot of this in context and really hammers down the fact that when these things were made illegal by drug laws, which were admittedly racist and anti-leftist, when they were made illegal, the scientific data at the time is completely contrary to the assertion that they have no medical value or are addictive and or dangerous drugs. So that kind of lays it out for everybody that, you know, these laws are nonsensical at their core. And so change is very much needed. But back to the statewide measures. So in the states up on the ballot this year are going to be Colorado and Michigan. I don't know just a ton about the Michigan initiative, but I do want to speak on the Colorado initiative because there has been a division or fracture within the entheogen psychedelic community. Now, in Colorado, there's actually 2 measures going on the ballot. One, which is advanced by Decriminalize Nature, and another one by a group. I can't remember the name, but let me talk about the fundamental difference real quick between these 2. Now, Decriminalize Nature has always advocated that peyote and other mescaline-containing cacti be on the list of decriminalized substances. Well, since the successes early on of Decriminalize Nature, the Native American Church and the Native Americans, in conjunction with Dr. David Bronner and some other organizations, have raised a challenge to that. According to them, decriminalizing peyote is going to constitute a threat to the peyote in its natural habitat, which is overseen and ran by the Native Americans. So the reasoning being that if we decriminalize peyote, people, non-natives, are going to go and forage illegally these cacti in their native habitat, and which, by the way, are on the threat of extinction. In response, Carlos, and I have been working with him closely on this, proposes that we educate people on the growing of peyote. Now, there could be a potential argument for religious growing of peyote on a federal level, but on the state or local level, obviously, if it were decriminalized, that would not be as big of an issue as it relates to at least local law enforcement. So at this time, there is that division, and it is widening. It's expanding just beyond the decriminalized nature movement and moving into other factions into the space. I'm going to be working on some content this Friday discussing the feasibility of home or personal cultivation of peyote, and I'll be posting it to social media. I think Carlos said that he's going to take a 5-10 minute snippet and post it to their page as well. So that's kind of where the ongoing debate is going. But at the same time, there is a lot of progress being made. I work as an entheogenic church consultant. I help people bring their religious practice within the confines of both state and federal religious exemption laws. And I will say that there are a lot of jurisdictions in this country that my clients practice in that don't have decriminalized nature ordinances in place, but yet local law enforcement is extremely friendly to these types of practices, considering that for the most part, religious practitioners are in a very safe, controlled, ritualistic setting and monitoring everybody within that setting in order to safely bring them through the process, in addition to, you know, strict screening protocols and procedures. So I say that to say this, is that things are moving in the right direction all around. As many are aware, positive pro-psychedelic press is coming out on almost a daily basis. And I feel, in conjunction with Michael Pollan's now documentary and book, we're making a lot of headway in the right direction. So don't give up. One more thing that Mr. Landry asked me to address today that he pointed or directed my attention to is a statute in Louisiana that covers the cultivation of these sacred plants. Now, the statute is Louisiana Revised Statute 989.1. Of particular, and basically what 989.1 is, and here Tony has pulled it up. It basically says you're not allowed to, produce, manufacture, distribute, or possess hallucinogenic plants. Now, for our purposes, and again, as we said, we're not ever advocating anyone ever violate the statute, but subsection D at the bottom basically states that if you are cultivating these plants for aesthetic, for landscaping, or for decorative purposes, you're not covered by this statute. So just to throw that out there, and I will say my experience in this space and my personal experience with sacred plants, the first step to truly building a relationship with that plant is to actually put your hands on it and grow it. And that's how over time you develop that relationship. And then when the time comes where you can legally consume it, it will be a much more thorough and enhanced experience, through your continued relationship with it and getting to know the spirit of the plant. So that's about all I have for tonight. Thank you, Tony, for having me, and I'll be glad, to answer any questions or make any further comments if need be.
Okay, Greg, thanks for explaining that to us at 989.1. It looks like, the way the intention of legislation was that to make it illegal to process the plants and distribute them. So as long as you just growing the plants in your home for your personal enjoyment, aesthetic use, and landscaping purposes, then it looks like they gave you a big shopping list to go out there and shop.
And just so people know, psilocybin or sacred mushrooms are not covered under that statute. So I don't believe in Louisiana that cultivating them in your home will qualify under that law. But I could be wrong. Maybe they are. Do you know, Tony?
Well, yes. The way the law is put out, let me see if I can get back to it. It says at the top, it says it's unlawful production, manufacture, distribution, or possession of hallucinogenic plants, exceptions. And then it goes down.
That's right. It does have it listed there. So sacred mushrooms are also covered under this law. So just my assumption is that probably once they are picked and dried, then you're probably in the violation zone. So just be aware of that. But I guess as far as they're growing on a medium fresh, presumably it'd be covered.
Well, it says on section D, Greg, it says the provisions of this section shall not apply to the possession, planting, cultivation, growing, or harvesting of hallucinogenic plants strictly for aesthetic or landscaping or decorative purposes. So, if you got a bowl of psilocybin mushrooms in your house sitting up on your counter, it's no different than potpourri meat. That's what I say. Is
yeah, that's right.
Pretty.
The sweetest
So
smelling.
I don't know that the way they have the law written, where it's harvesting of hallucinogenic plants for aesthetic, landscape, and decorative purposes, it seems that you're okay to. But I would definitely want to get my local DA go to this law 989.1, 989.1, and get a copy of it. And if you want to grow some of these plants, because some of these plants you can walk right into a nursery and pick up, like ayahuasca is on here. I forget which is that ayahuasca.
Mimosa hostilis, subsection S.
Yeah, number on W, Banis.
Oh no, it's Banisteriopus. Mimosa is the chacruna.
Yeah, mimosa is grown all over Louisiana. Some of these plants are pretty common plants. So it sounds like the way the law is written, it sounds to me like you're able to grow everything. You just can't process it, is what I'm getting out of it. Is that everybody go out and grow these plants, but if you have an interest in growing any of them, check with your local, make sure that they're not gonna, that they're gonna uphold that law, because that law says you can grow them. The opiate related deaths in Louisiana, which these plants, all these psychedelic plants can help addiction and depression and anxiety. So that's going to lower some of the opiate deaths. And nowadays they're finding fentanyl even in barbiturates and in uppers, you know, so you don't know what you're getting on the street. And these psychedelic plants having, you know, ability to help heal some of that addiction that's causing these overdose. Says opioid involved deaths increased by 25% from 2018 to 2019. From 2012 to 2019, opioid involved deaths increased 267% in Louisiana. So you can definitely see we have a strong need, you know, for decriminalizing these plants and building a research system set up with education and training so that we can train the facilitators so they're able to do this work in the community. And psilocybin is probably one of the fast track for approval from the FDA for indications for depression, anxiety, addiction, PTSD, cluster headaches, OCD, Alzheimer's, and anorexia. Those are all some studies that are going on right now. These are all the potential therapeutic window of psilocybin assisted therapy. These are all the studies going on right now for psilocybin. So psilocybin would be one of the quickest ones that we can get approved for clinical help, you know, for patients, but we definitely need to set up something for community health too. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn it over to Donna McCollough with Decriminalize Nature Baton Rouge, and she's gonna go over some harm reduction methods for psychedelics. Donna?
Okay, once again, I want to say that we don't condone the use of illegal substances, including psychedelics. But if you do choose to partake, we do want to, you know, safety and awareness. If you follow my Instagram page, you'll see that I post Fireside a lot, and there are some other groups out there, but Fireside provides free peer support through text messaging, or you can give them a call, and they're available in our time zone. I believe it's 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. And there's 10 psychedelic safety practices that they go by. We won't go through each slide, but if you go to firesideproject.org, they have a lot of really good information on there. One of the things too is to test your substance, especially with the way fentanyl is showing up pretty much everywhere. I did provide, in case anybody wants any tonight or knows somebody that can use, there's naloxone in here. This is the injectable naloxone. There is a shortage of the spray. I did bring a spray just to show. And then also Matt informed me he does have some fentanyl test strips on hand. If you or you know somebody that would benefit from having fentanyl test strips on hand. They also have a screen dip card test that you can use. Just let me know though if you are interested in having, this is the injectable naloxone hand. I brought some to pass out. I think that's it as far as harm reduction. Just we want everybody to be safe. We care about your life. I care about people's lives I've never met anywhere in the world. I just want everybody to be okay.
Everything we promote is in a clinical or a ceremonial type thing. You know, if you're going to have ketamine is a dissociate, you know, I wouldn't suggest doing it out in town and going to a party or anything, but this stuff we're promoting here is more a clinical or ceremonial with integration. There's a whole system of preparation before you take the psychedelics, preparing yourself to you know, to take them, setting an intention. What are you trying to do to take them? Maybe help stop drinking or smoking or overeating, whatever. And then after you take them, make sure that you have somebody there with you, a sitter, they call it, or a facilitator, who's not taking the medicine, and then follow up with some therapy, integration therapy, to talk about your experience with an experienced coach, integration coach. Okay, and now the next slide, Donna, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, this is just a little more about decriminalized nature. Because people are asking about why decriminalize before legalization. And the big part is we want people in the community to be able to have access to these medicines and not just right to the big corporations, which we see a lot of. So our goal is decriminalization without limits, and the main point is we want the community to have access to this, and we want the community to have their own plant medicine. We want you to be able to grow it in your backyard if you want to do that. We want you to be able to make your own medicine, with education. And
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's more what we're seeing, like with cannabis, is some major corporations buying up all the licenses, and they're pricing up the patients out of the market. And this is decriminalize. The idea of that is to form, like back in early times, when warriors went off to battle and they came back with trauma and stuff, they gather everybody in a circle and in the community and use these plants to heal. So if you take a corporation buys up all the rights to say psilocybin, right now it's cannabis. What happens with psilocybin? They buy it up, and you're forced with the marginalized community can't get access. They're forced into an illicit economy, which is usually unsafe, is untested. We want to see eventually, micro psilocybin shops where you can have a trusted grower that you can go to and purchase psilocybin, and maybe have like the community yoga center where one evening on a Friday they have facilitators and specialists to help people, and they can show up and with a yoga mat and get some therapy. It's kind of what happened with me in Arizona. I showed up with a yoga mat and sat in a circle with a bunch of other people looking for healing, and I walked away with profound changes, and I couldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if I hadn't had ayahuasca. So that's why I'm here doing this today, promoting this.
So wait, if I could chime, I got one quick question. Donna brought up an interesting point about decriminalization versus legalization. So from I don't know why I'm getting so much echo, sorry about that. So from my experience with medical marijuana, I have about 600 patients now over the last 3 years almost. And I would say a little more than half have never smoked marijuana at all. But now they're taking it daily, and I'm treating them for anxiety or PTSD or depression or pain or whatever. So the problem or the challenge I think we find is that when it comes to hallucinogens, I totally agree. You're right. If you decriminalize and don't legalize, then you let everybody kind of do their own thing. But there's a huge percentage of the population out there that's probably not going to grow their own or know how to get their own, which means if you don't have sort of a mainstream avenue to legalize it, then you just don't have dispensaries or places that can actually sell it to people that would otherwise not know how. I mean, y'all are in the element, and you know how to get it and where to get it, but a lot of people who are interested and would benefit would then have no way of getting access to these products. I'm curious what y'all think.
As far as it would be more to have the community, like community gardens, and we have the motto grow, gather, gift, to where we local people can grow it and gather what they've grown and then use what they need or gift it to other people that need access to it. And I feel like there's enough people that have community gardens and that are into having their own gardens that I feel like we would have enough, but we don't want to like take away completely from people that, you know, like the shops and everything that Tony mentioned. But we do want people to be able to go to their neighbor and, you know, exchange, you know, whatever they need. It could be just, hey, I'll do some work here and, you know, and here's some mushrooms for you. And that's the grow gather gift. And I don't know as far as how that's working, because Oregon still has their own little, I think, shops and everything there too. But you know, we want to have the shops like more in the community and less corporate owned and less, you know, less of the large corporations and more it's grown here in the community, you know, by the community.
Yeah, and in terms of public safety and health, I mean, if right now we have no basic structure in the community. So sorry about that. It's no safety measures in the community. It's whatever, say, psilocybin they get out there. They don't know where it's grown, how it's grown. So when you have a network of farmers and, you know, facilitators and people that can bring the knowledge, the ancient knowledge of use of these plants is there, you know. So when there's no fear of arrest and you're able to set up that system, community-based system, then that knowledge of safety and all that will be there. And you know, as far as the commerce goes, I guess it's like anything else. When you go to the farmer's market to buy vegetables, you're not bringing test strips and testing for pesticide. You just kind of trust the farmer that if you buy an organic at a farmer's market, you kind of trust the farmer. So that's kind of, I guess, the business model of the decriminalized nature movement. It's not like a corporate model where you have a bunch of regulations that all those regulations costs is passed on to the patient. And this is more a community type caring event where the costs stay lower and hopefully it'll be safer than what we have now. Hope that answers your question, Doc.
Yeah, no, it does. It's just, you can just see how it's sort of a complicated sort of approach to stuff. It's not, like I said, people who have no experience but would rely on, let's say, whether it's a physician or a shaman or anybody to put them on certain plants and stuff, they just need to know where it's accessible. So you kind of, I think you almost have to do them hand in hand. I am totally against corporatization as well. And they don't do a great job. I mean, one of the two companies that produces marijuana in Louisiana, they routinely get a lot of their product that they grow rejected. So even though we don't want a lot of regulations, I mean, one of the companies here, literally, they have so much bacteria and so much mold in the stuff that they're trying to pass on to the patients because they just want to make money, that it's kind of nice that it's being tested by either the Department of Health or Department of Agriculture to make sure it meets national standards of what marijuana should be going out. Or if you get a tincture that says 900 milligrams in a bottle, that you're actually getting 900 and you're not getting 10 because they're just trying to screw you. So it's some interesting things. I believe it should be completely open, like on the West Coast and in Colorado, where you have lots of people producing it and selling it. And in that way, the best people and the best growers kind of rise to the top. But that's the problem with Louisiana. 2 producers, 9 dispensaries. It's just not working for lots of reasons.
I agree. That's some goals. We definitely need more growers and lots more dispensaries because the you know, just the traveling from one city to where the dispensary is for a lot of patients. It's just out of reach, with lower income and with the recession and everything. So having a lot more dispensaries and more growers is number one goal. Okay. The next slide. Did you finish with this one yet?
Yeah, we're pretty
O-
much-
Okay. That
This is just how to get involved as far as just in the city of Baton Rouge. We are in the state capital, so we're working on advocating and lobbying at the Capitol too for the state. But I just put up an example, like a postcard to send to city council members. I actually printed some out too, if you want to take a copy home with you. And it's just to, have as many people put in letters as possible to let them know that, hey, you're for the decriminalized nature movement. And I don't know, Baton Rouge, I get discouraged easily with a lot of things, but I feel like with the way things are moving forward everywhere else, that we have a better chance to have some things done. And then Tony and Angela have done a lot of lobbying and advocating at the Capitol, and I'm still learning stuff from them. I think Tony could kind of tell you more about how to do any type of advocating or lobbying on the state level.
Yeah, I was very, very excited this year to see some new faces at the Capitol, Angela and well, for the rally, we had several people that showed up, and it means a lot when you get your story, right in front of the legislators and these committees. Normally what happens, they'll introduce a bill and it goes through like a health committee, then a criminal justice committee, and then on to the floor for the full floor vote, either the House or the Senate. Kind of the same process on both sides, but all that step's over for now. The session ended June 6th, and we were lucky to get some pretty good, decent bills. Representative Marino had a couple good bills on protecting out-of-state patients when they come into Louisiana on August 1st. If you fly into Louisiana and you have a medical recommendation and maybe a vape pen or something, you won't have to fear getting arrested for your medicine. And if you run out of that vape pen, you'll be able to go to one of Louisiana's 9 dispensaries and purchase some cannabis after August 1st. Representative Landry had another bill to protect pre-employment drug screens for state employees. They were having a hard time filling positions at the state because a lot of people would go in, they were medical patients and stuff. So she passed a law to protect state employees if on pre-employment or while you're working for the state. If you're not in a sensitive position, law enforcement, firefighting, emergency medical services, maybe school bus, something that you have to drive for your duties, you might run into some barriers there for using medical recommended cannabis. But it's going to be a unique law that many states wish they would have. And so we thank both of those representatives for those bills. The next session, well, right now, the main thing is reach out to your local representative. The legislative website has, if you don't know your representative name, if you go to Louisiana legislative website, you can find it there. And just follow our groups, Decriminalize Nature Baton Rouge, Louisiana Veterans for Medical Cannabis, and Louisiana LAMMJ. Any kind of action that we're doing, it'll show up in those groups. You can, follow it, share it, like some of the posts. It helps get the word out. And the next thing you could do would be just kind of look at some other states. This is advocacy. As you look at another state and you see some legislation that was passed in another state and you say, wow, that's pretty nice. I wish we had that in Louisiana. But what you do is you get the file for the legislation and you send it to your representative and you ask him to take a look at it and see if he would be interested in maybe introducing something like that, something similar to that in Louisiana. that's how it's done, folks. I mean, all day long, every day at the Capitol in Louisiana, you have grassroots advocates that'll get together and introduce some bills through a legislator. That changes policy, and you can really help out millions of people in Louisiana just by some small actions that you do, you know. You'd be surprised. And there's not a lot of people doing it. You don't have to fight for a seat at the table over there at the Capitol. And when those bills go through, there's not a lot of grassroots type advocates there doing this kind of work. So if you want to get involved, you can do some of those things I mentioned and get ready for the next legislative session would be April 10th of 2023. So that's probably I don't know, maybe 6 months away. I'm not sure, but it's not that far away. So now's the time where legislators go back to their districts and they start talking to their constituents, and they get a game plan for next session on what bills they want to see passed. So it's not a time to be slack right now. Anyway, the session's over. You need to reach out to your elected officials with a phone call. That's the simplest way, just a phone call and a message, or email with some links to some things you saw, something like that. That's how it's done. Okay. Well, we're coming up on a little bit over an hour, so we're going to kind of wrap it up here. And now we're going to ask if anybody in the audience wants to share, tell us about yourself or share some goals that you'd like to see happen in Louisiana with plant medicine. Now would be the time. And then we, of course, will let the viewers in the Zoom room in if you want to have a say. But I'm going to go around the audience first. Does anybody out here want to say a few words?
Excuse me, Travis Diamond. I'm actually an ex-state trooper. I was in military police in the Army. As a result of some of my experiences with the in the military and state police, ended up having some PTSD issues, and the plant medicine has helped me a lot over the years to deal with those issues. Cannabis and as well as psilocybin, microdosing and things like that. So I think that we need to, like Angela was saying, we all need to get together and work together to try to get this decriminalized. It's plants, you know. It's hard to believe that it is actually something that can't be used for medicinal purposes, you know. So I fully support this group and plan to participate more in helping to help, you know, this movement.
I guess one of the things that strikes me, I'm Matt, yes, We Cannibal. One of the things that strikes me is the abolition movement, and the connections to the abolition movement seem really ripe, you know, because obviously in this community and in a lot of disinvested communities, marijuana is the mechanism, you know, to stop cars and arrest people most disproportionately of color. And so it seems like building the connection for legalizing marijuana, you know, is very closely connected to abolition. So it seems kind of like the political dimension is a lot bigger than just personal rights to kind of drug use or, you know, plant medicine use. So I'm just kind of curious, Donna in particular, if you guys have any thoughts on that. Linkages, you know.
The links from psychedelics to
Well, yeah, no. So sort of, I mean, there is, you know, over the past 2 or 3 years, I mean, there's this kind of giant movement towards defund the police, abolition, et cetera. You know, regardless of where you stand on that, there are kind of pretty clear links in my mind to the movement to legalize, you know, the substances that are used to kind of prosecute, arrest, et cetera, people. So I would like in Baton Rouge in particular, we work with a lot of abolitionists. I'd love to see that kind of built a little more strongly. You know, there's some people who are working really hard to legalize marijuana, you know, for political reasons more than for use reasons. And it seems like that kind of coalition building could be really effective.
yeah, well, we were all about coalitions. Yeah.
We have all these little groups, right? And we all want the same thing, but we're not working together. We have the prisoner reform, we have the Promise of Justice Initiative, which, you know, everybody's working. There's other groups like, you know, I mean, nobody should be in jail for marijuana, right? When our state representatives are making 300 plus, however much millions on that, but yet we have people in prison and jail for cannabis crimes in 2022. It's complete bullshit, and I'll use that word. I know you don't like cussing, but it is. Nobody should be in prison for that right now. We need to expand our network to prison reform. You know, what you're talking about, we need help. Bring them in.
Yeah, well, that's really, I mean, the DA can let you off of murder if he doesn't want to press charges, you know? That's just Louisiana, how we roll down here, and it's unfortunate. I mean, it's one of the reasons we do this work is just to change the laws, you know? We're not looking for a business license or anything, we're just looking to change laws, so so people would stop getting arrested, you know? And you know, and there's so many other things with besides the arrests and the people in jail right now for cannabis. You know, so a lot of them are veterans that or even ex-law enforcement or firefighters that went through some traumatic stuff, maybe turned to self-medicating with alcohol or something and ended up in a pinch, and all of a sudden they're in jail, you know? So if we'd have had psychedelics, you know, like psilocybin therapy and that, maybe to stop the alcohol use, maybe it wouldn't have led to them going into jail, you know? And it's like their side of the movement, our side of the movement just wants to stop the arrests and get the therapy. Their side of the movement wants to increase arrests, because anytime you patting holding hands in a therapy session, like I think one of those companies was trying to do, then somebody's going to be criminalized, you know, along the way. And you know, but there's so many avenues, just disparities of arrests is just one of, I mean, we have people getting kicked out of their housing for being a medical cannabis patient, you know, and our elderly, they should have an end of life a right to try these medicines like psilocybin and stuff. If you get a terminal diagnosis of cancer, then there's no one that should stop you from trying psilocybin, because it's actually beneficial for that. And it's not going to kill you. You know, it's not like you can go out and drink alcohol and kill yourself, you know, with one of those diagnoses, or you can have some psilocybin and maybe deal with the anxiety. But there, in old folks' homes, you know, we need school protection for children, epileptic children at school. Their mom's got to check them out of school, give them their medicine, you know. So the whole cannabis program was profit driven. Just right off the bat, seal up the deal, monopolize everything, and it's not helping people. Well, hopefully we can make some changes, and you know, it just takes some time, just a little bit of push, maybe one email or something, just gonna turn the right voting lever or something. But it's better than doing nothing, you know, just going through life and not getting active and doing stuff. You're not going to get, you know, much done like that. But if you stand up and take the risk and get out there and speak, then you can change the world. So, okay, well, we're going to give an opportunity if anyone in the room in the Zoom room have a question to ask or comment, and we'll go ahead and open up for that. And if not, we'll close the meeting. David?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm David Lucido. Thank you all for all attending. Thanks Tony for hosting, and everyone who put this together, and everyone who's going to be with us moving forward. I helped launch Legalize Louisiana in 2011 to sort of stimulate the statewide movement to kind of get us in position where we are today. But from the beginning, we've been talking about ultimate victory. So that's what I want everybody to consider. We want to go all the way. I like how Decriminalize Nature wants to go, like, you know, without all these unneeded restrictions and regulations to really free the plants. So on tomorrow morning, I'm going to be calling my council person and my mayor here in Baton Rouge. I'm in Baton Rouge. I've been here for just a few months now, but I'm excited to be in Baton Rouge. And I'm going to talk to my people tomorrow, and I hope you guys do the same. And we're on to ultimate victory. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, David. Thank you for coming.
Sure. Shandy Heil, also from Baton Rouge. I'm happy to be part of this group. And I'm actually a disaster specialist, and I've had, I guess I've deployed to 9 disasters in a matter of 7 years. So it's, I needed a way to literally, I intuitively thought I need to reset my brain, and I didn't exactly know how to do that. And plant medicine helped me, and it's reaped benefits. So I would love to be part of this movement.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to Decriminalize Nature Baton Rouge, first monthly meeting. Appreciate all the people in the audience that came out and see us in person, and for all those that watching out on Zoom, we appreciate you showing up. And we're going to go ahead and close out the meeting. Y'all have a good evening and a good rest of the week.